Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbos.
It is lovely to be with you all tonight as we celebrate Shabbat and as we prepare to celebrate with Zevi and his family and friends as we welcome you to the Bima both tonight and tomorrow as you become Bar Mitzvah, which is so hard to believe, oh my goodness. But it is so exciting to get to be here with you and with your family and with your friends. So as we move into our service this evening, we will begin on page 4 as we light our Shabbat candles. And as we light the candles, it's an opportunity to kind of bring a little bit more light in the world physically, as we also hope that our prayers and our presence and our acts in the world will find a way to bring more light to others as well. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Carly. There's a tradition after lighting candles on Friday night that many families have of blessing children. And it is one of the oldest blessings we have in our tradition, one that we have in Torah. We'll get to hear a little bit more about it at Zoe's Bat Mitzvah in many months from now. But it's a blessing that we have that we can share with our families every single Friday night and also on special occasions. And so as we celebrate this evening, as we welcome Shabbat, and I invite you to kind of send blessings to your loved ones, whether they are near or far. You can bless your cousins, absolutely. And so we pass this blessing on to you. May God bless you and protect you. May God's face give light to you and show you favor. May God's face be lifted toward you and bestow upon you peace. Keni hirat zon. May it be God's will. And in my family, we always add, be who you are and be blessed in all that you are and all that you will become. Amen.
Amen.
So we turn back in our prayer books now to page 5 as we begin to move into Shabbat and celebrate together with Shalom Aleichem. And I'd love to invite Zevi to come on up to help us welcome the Shabbos angels into our midst, into our lives. May they bring much blessing as they dwell with us this Shabbat. And Zevi, if you can get us started. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Miyim Melech, Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Bolechem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei continue on page 10 with Yedid Nefesh.
Yedid
Nefesh,
nefesh aparat aman mishok avdach el retzonach yarutz avdach yemo
Continue on page 14 as we move through Kabbalat Shabbat. And this part of the service is meant to really help us to settle in, to orient ourselves to this moment, to orient ourselves in the week. Surely it has been a busy week with lots of details, lots of work, lots of chores, lots of homework. And as we move through Kabbalat Shabbat, the hope is that with each psalm that we sing, that we can put a little bit of that down and to make space in ourselves, in this room, in our bodies, in our hearts, in our minds, to really be able to welcome in the peace that is Shabbat. And so I hope that you can find a way to do that as we move through this service. And on page 14, we come to Yismechu, which is a celebration of joy. And it is particularly nice to be thinking about that on this day as we celebrate Zevi, and also this week as we moved into the new month of Adar Sheni. So we're in a leap year, so we have 2 Adar months. But what we learn about Adar is that when we go into the month of Adar, we're supposed to be joyful. Whether it means that we should just automatically feel joyful, we should find a way to make joy in the world, or to recognize the joy that's in the world, or to hold on to it. So that as we move into Shabbat, I want to invite you to think about whatever it is that brought you joy this week, whatever it is that's bringing you joy in this moment, and to hold on to that dearly. Find a place within you where it can really find a home, so that when there's moments that are a little harder, we can tap into that joy, we can re-experience that all over again. And that's something that we're supposed to do all month long. So I invite you to start doing that now, and it's an invitation really for the entire month of Adar Sheni.
Yismechu Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, V'tayel haaretz. Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, V'tayel haaretz. Yeram hayam, yeram hayam, yeram hayam, umelo. Yeram hayam, yeram hayam, yeram hayam, umelo.
Continue on page 16, 4 lines up from the bottom in the Hebrew or in the transliteration.
Oy zarua latzadik, oy yishrei lev simcha. Oy zarua latzadik, oy yishrei lev simcha. Oy zarua latzadik, oy yishrei lev simcha. Oy צדיק, אוי ישרי לב שמחה, אוי ישרי לב שמחה.
We turn to page 23 as we get ready to move into Lecha Dodi. And the hope is that by the time we arrive on the other side of Lecha Dodi, that we'll be fully ready to receive Shabbat. And so as we move through the Lecha Dodi prayer, the idea is that we're supposed to be greeting Shabbat like we're welcoming a queen or like we're welcoming a bride. And it's that kind of excitement and anticipation that we're meant to feel every single week when we come to the end of the week, which maybe we feel it's like a thank goodness it's Friday sort of feeling. But it's supposed to kind of be this excitement to enter into this palace of time that is Shabbat. And so I want to invite you, before we start singing the words of this prayer, to really allow yourselves to take a minute to settle into this time and to settle into this space. So if you want to close your eyes, I invite you to do so. Just take a nice deep breath. And then another one. And prepare to welcome Shabbat. Prepare for the peace. Prepare for the joy. And become present to this moment. When you're ready, open your eyes. I want to invite Zevi to come on up when he's ready to help lead us in Lecha Dodi on page 23.
Lecha Dodi
לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha dodi לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשמו תפארת ולתהילה.
Lecha
lecha
Dodi
דודי, lecha דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Likrat
שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדש ניסוחה, עוד מעשה במחשבה תחילה.
Lecha
lecha
Dodi
דודי, lecha דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, ומצאים מתוך ההפכה, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה.
Lecha
lecha
Dodi
דודי, lecha דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We turn ahead to page 25.
ימין ושמאל תפרוצי, ויעש אדוני תריצי, על יד איש בן פרצי, ונשמחה בן גילו.
Lecha
lecha
Dodi
דודי, lecha דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha דודי לקראת כלה, Ateres balva, gad besimcha v'tzola, Torchamunei am segula, Bavichala, Bavichala.
Lecha.
Lecha,
Dodi,
Dodi,
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbos nikabela, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbos nikabela.
You may be seated. Thank you, Zevi. We continue on page 27 with the Psalm for Shabbat.
Mizmor Shirley on Shabbat, Avladat Laronai, Losam Nishmachal, Kine Oivech Adonai, Kine Oivech Yovedu, Yitpardu Kopal Aleo, Vermetarim Kinkani, Valoshli, Vishemen Radon, Vilabetin Yeveshurai, Bekamir Librahim, Tishmana Oznai, Sadikata Mahifrach, Ge'eret Pavanun, Yiskesh Esulim, Baveit Adonai, Bechatzrot Eloheinu Yafrichu, Odinuvon Beseva, Tishenim Verananim, Yiu Lehagid, Yashar Adonai, Turi, Turi, Velo, Avlatabo.
We turn ahead now to page 39, and hopefully we are ready to receive Shabbat, ready to enter in, ready to both dwell within and create the kind of peace that comes with Shabbat. And as we turn to page 39, I invite you to rise once again, if you're comfortable and able to do so, as we move into our Mariv service with Baruch Hu.
Baruchu et Adonai HaMorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch le'Morach le'olam va'ed.
You may be seated.
Baruch Adonai Malcham HaShavur Mihim V'chumah V'tesharim Umavir Yomim V'layla Mavdil Min Yom V'layla Adonai Zot Shemo El Chai V'Kayam Tamidim Lo Chaleinu Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai Amariv Aravim.
Continue on page 40.
Ahavat Olam Beis Yisrael Amcha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chokim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al ken Adonai Eloheinu B'shofeinu u'v'kumeinu Nasiach b'chukecha V'nizmach b'divrei Toratecha u'v'mitzvotecha li'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu v'yorech yameinu v'yorech yameinu u'vahem negeh yomam v'layla yomam v'layla Yachad Esrimenu Le'olamim Baruch Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael.
We turn to page 41, and I'd like to invite Zevi to come on back up to the bima to help lead us in Shema and V'ahavta.
Shema
Shema
Yis
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך ושרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Continue silently on page 42.
Adonai Elohechem Emet.
Continue on page 44 as we come to the words of Mi Chamocha. Wasn't that long ago in our Torah reading that we read these words in the Torah itself as the Israelites finally fled from slavery in Egypt and crossed the Sea of Reeds and sang this song as they arrived to the other side, as they were able to take that first step toward freedom and experience that joy and the incredible probably fear of the unknown of what was to come. And so transitions kind of have all of that emotion wrapped up in it. But we have that reminder constantly in our liturgy as we sing these words every single day. And hopefully it also enables us to appreciate in our own lives the freedom that we have here in our lives today, right now, as we know that so many others around the world, unfortunately, don't get to experience that same kind of freedom.
לחנו שירה בשמחה רבה ויאמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נעלם הקודש נורא תהילה ספר מלכותך רובנך בקהל לפני משה זליהו ויאמרו Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar yivada Adonai et Yaakov u'v'lo yilchazak mimenu Baruch et Adonai Ga Yisrael.
We turn to page 45 for Hashkivenu, which is a prayer for peace and protection, compassion, and safety that we say every single night. And in a moment, we will move into these words, Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, spread over us your canopy of peace, which is both a prayer to the divine for some sort of protection in our own lives, but I also experience this as a reminder to ourselves of how it is that we can be that kind of source of peace and safety and protection for others. And sometimes people call out to us, and then we can respond and help. And sometimes we might just intuit how it is that we can be there for somebody else. But let it be a reminder that we can do that in our lives, and we can bring that goodness and godliness into the world. So before we move into this prayer this evening, I want to share a prayer for Ukraine by Joanne Fink, as we know that in this moment, as we sit here and celebrate Shabbat tonight, that there are those in the world who are not experiencing the same kind of safety and the same kind of security. Last week, on Sunday morning at Minyan, Cantor Benjamin shared a video of the Moshe House in Ukraine making Havdalah all together. And then the next day I saw an image of someone carrying the Torah scroll out of the synagogue from whatever city they were in the Ukraine. And so it is an interesting time over there and can be very scary. And so I offer these words so that we can offer our prayers to all those who are in need of this kind of safety in this moment. Holy One, source of strength, war has begun and innocent people are dying. We ask your protection for Ukraine and its citizens. We pray for their safety and the security of the country and for the neighboring countries, Hungary, Poland, and Romania, among others, that have opened their borders to provide humanitarian corridors and safe passages for all those who wish to evacuate. We seek the comfort of believing that everything will be all right, even in the face of insurmountable odds. Quiet the fears that threaten to deafen us. Grant us shlemut, the inner peace we so desperately seek. Help us remain calm and reach out to those in need. May this horrific situation be diffused swiftly with minimal casualties. Bless our world leaders with the ability to work together for the greater good and the wisdom to make wise decisions during this turbulent time. Bless the people of all nations with the desire, strength, and courage to create a world based on justice and filled with peace. May the words of Isaiah 2:4, nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore, become true in our day, in this very hour. Source of goodness, shine your healing light on us and all those in the Ukraine we hold in our hearts. Shelter us, shield us, show us the path to peace. May we each be inspired to use our unique gifts to usher in an era of enduring peace. And we say together, Amen.
Amen.
So I invite you to take in whatever prayers for peace, comfort, safety, and protection that you may need as we sing these words, and also allow this to be an opportunity where you can send those same vibes out to all those in the world who are in need of this kind of safety, healing, compassion, and peace in this moment. Amen. We turn to page 46, and I'd like to invite Zevi to come back up on the bima to lead us in Vishamru.
Vishamru
V'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat La'asot et HaShabbat L'dorotam berit olam Beini u'bein B'nei Yisrael Oti li'olam Oti li'olam Oti li'olam Vishamru V'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat La'asot et HaShabbat L'dorotam berit olam
Sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim
et ha'aretz Vishamru B'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat La'asot et HaShabbat L'dorotam berit olam Ubayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash Vishamru B'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat La'asot et HaShabbat L'dorotam berit
Gadal, Viakadash, Shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Vialma Divra Kirute, Viamlich Malchute.
V'chayehonu v'yomechon u'chayedeho beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, ubizman hariv.
Imaru.
Amen. Yehei Rabba Mevorach, Le'olam v'lo ne'omaya yibarach.
Yitbarach, Vishtabach, Vitpar, Vitromam, Vitnase, V'yitadar, V'yitalev, V'yitalal, Shemeda Kodeshah,
B'rechu.
Liela, Min Kol Berchata, V'shirata,
Tush b'chata v'nehemata, damiran v'yoma, imaru. Amen. We turn now to page 47 as we move into our silent Amidah. And I will invite you to rise if you're comfortable and able to do so. The Amidah begins on page 47 and continues through to page 52. And so you can use this time to either read through the words in Hebrew or in English, or to acknowledge the prayers in your heart. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael, V'yimeru, Amen. So this week in our Torah reading, we wrap up the book of Shemot. We have a momentous occasion tomorrow as Zevi reads, where we finally get to the end of this book. And Zevi will have the opportunity to even chant the final verses from the book of Exodus before we move into the book of Leviticus the following week. So for the last few weeks, we have been talking about the building of the Mishkan, which is the traveling temple that the Israelites built to house the Ten Commandments. We talked a lot about this, Zevi. The Mishkan is also where Moses would go to talk to God, and it also will become the site of how the priests will carry out all of their sacrifices. And the purpose of the sacrifices are to maintain the sanctity of the Israelite community, to maintain their relationships, their health, and their safety. So this week, we read about the final touches of the Mishkan. Moses reminds us of all the work that the Israelites have carried out, all the details that God commanded Moses to then tell the people so that they know what to do. And Moses reviews this list, and then he inspects all of the objects. They're all brought before him, everything that was made, and he checks them all out. We then learn that Moses goes inside the tent, and he arranges all the furnishings. Even though all the people were involved in the creation of all of this, all of these belongings, Moses goes in alone to be the interior designer inside the Mishkan. And finally, at the end of the book, we read that God's presence descended upon the Mishkan in a cloud. So after all the building and all the inspection, after all of that was completed, we read in the Torah, B'chol asher tziva Adonai et Moshe, ken asu b'nei Yisrael et kol ha'avodah. Vayar Moshe et kol ha'melacha, v'hinei asu ota ka'asher tziva Adonai, ken asu vayevarech otam Moshe. Just as Adonai commanded Moses, so the Israelites had done all the work. And when Moses saw that they had performed all the tasks, just as Adonai had commanded, so they had done, Moses blessed them. So for the past 13 chapters, we've been hearing all about this communal building project. And now finally, it's done. Kind of a big deal. I was really struck by reading the end of this chapter, that the text simply says, Moses blessed them. But that's all it says. It's not followed by some sort of lofty poem, which we do get from Moses in other moments. We'll get that especially at the end of Deuteronomy. There's no thank you note to all of the Israelites for all of their hard work, all of their contributions. It just says, Moses blessed them. So my question, if you were Moses, if you were the leader of this newly freed people, we just talked about that with Micha Mocha, it wasn't that long ago that they crossed the sea, they got to Mount Sinai, they received the Ten Commandments, now they're kind of off into the wilderness, and this is where we are in the story. So if you were the leader of this newly freed people, and you witnessed the way in which everyone was involved in this project that they just completed, everyone was involved in this awesome building project that God told them to do, what do you think, if you were going to bless them, what do you think the nature or the content of this blessing might have been? What do you think? Don't all talk at once.
Good job working together.
Okay, good. Good job working together. Like, good job, team. You know, like a whoa, like we did it kind of thing. Excellent. Anything else that we think might have been a part of this this blessing? Oh, great. So maybe Moses would have said, like, not just good job, but like, it looks great. Like you did what you were supposed to. Look how shiny this golden menorah is. Look how sturdy these poles are that you put up to hold the walls of the tent. Look how beautiful the garments are that you created for the priests. Look how lovely all of the work that when you came together, look what a beautiful thing you created. And so maybe Moses would have said something like that. Excellent. Yeah.
This is only the beginning.
Ooh, I just got chills. This is only the beginning. Yeah. Because every ending is a beginning, right? You kind of like stole my ending there. Yeah, so this is only the beginning. So, which is such a good thing for us to remember that on the one hand, they were so engaged, they were so entrenched in this project for so many chapters. They heard what they were supposed to do, then they did it. Now we're reviewing it again. We get these instructions over and over again to the point where it's like, why are we still hearing about this? And now they're finally done. And so you could think that that's the end. Like that could be the end of the book, right? And it is the end of the book actually, but there's a whole other version. There's multiple versions. There's multiple books in this what's it called? Not a sequel. In this series. We got to go to the next one because the journey's just beginning. Absolutely. This is good. Okay. So lots of ideas about what Moses might have said. So Rashi, who is one of our great commentators, who gives us all sorts of details about the text from like the 10th or 11th century. So he actually looks to another place in our tradition. He looks to the Psalms to try to figure out what is it that Moses said. Because all we know is that Moses blessed them. We don't really know what Moses said. So Rashi looks to this, there's like a collection of Psalms that are referred to as prayers of Moses. And in one of them, in Psalm 90, it says, may it be the will of God that God's Shekhinah, God's sort of dwelling, which is sort of the way in which we might experience God's presence in our world, the way that we humans can kind of experience God. So may it be the will of God that God's Shekhinah rest upon the work of your hands, and let the beauty of Adonai our God be upon us, and establish for us establish our work, the work of our hands upon us. So, which is kind of what happens. So, the cloud is going to dwell, so that just sort of, makes sense. But, commentators want to find an answer to this, so they look to Psalms. So maybe that's what he said. But the truth is, we don't really know what Moses said in that moment, or whether he said anything at all. Maybe he just, I don't know, offered some silent blessings to them and there were no words with it. But I love these spots, these openings in Torah. And we get them all over the place. Places where details are left out, where we have a little bit of information, but then we're left to fill in the blanks. So at the Gimel service, actually, a lot of your class had an opportunity to do some of this. They asked some questions about our foremothers and forefathers. And they were sort of wondering, well, like we have some pieces of information, but there's also a lot of questions that it raised. So they put on skits to kind of answer some of the questions in their own way. And so it's a wonderful opportunity to try to fill in the blanks. And it's an entire genre that we're engaged in. It's called Midrash, where we can it invites us and to bring our creativity to imagine what might have happened. What do we think that blessing might have been? So as we take a closer look at the text, one question we might ask is whether this text sounds familiar to any other piece of text that we have in Torah. Maybe that can kind of give us a little bit of an answer. Because if it does, then it can start to fill in some of those blanks for us. So what it says in our parsha is, Vayivarech otam Moshe, Moses blessed them. So if we think back to some other stories that we've read, there are some other places where we are told that blessings are given. You can offer some if you'd like, or I can tell you one. So if you think all the way back to the beginning of the book of Bereshit, we have a line that says, Vayivarech Elohim et Yom Hashvi'i vayikadesh oto. Our commentators point out the similarity between the text from our parsha, Vayivarech otam Moshe, and this other text from the beginning of Bereshit. Only in Bereshit, it wasn't Moses who was doing the blessing, it was God. God had also just completed a building project. God created the entire world. And then, after all 6 days, God then blessed the seventh day and made it holy. So Rabbi Art Green reminds us of the importance of having Moses be the one to offer the blessing on the completion of the Mishkan in our parsha. Not to have God be the one offering that blessing like God did before. Because after all, God already offered us a blessing. And we could assume that the blessing that God offered to us at the moment of creation is still standing, hasn't yet expired. God is still blessing Shabbat. God is still therefore blessing us as we enter into Shabbat. So that blessing still stands. But here in our parsha, Israel needed to feel and to know that their work was blessed. So I love that comment of that we need to kind of look at everything that you did and say, like, this was a really good job that you did. Israel needed to feel that. They needed to have that kind of moment where they were propped up so that they could have the really hard work that they just did acknowledged by Moses, their leader. They needed to be reminded that the tabernacle was a place of holiness and that they were the ones who helped create it. This blessing from Moses then that Moses offers in this moment at the completion of their work, it shows that the work had been appreciated. It shows that there was a value in what they had done. And then having that blessing come from Moses, their leader, this person who is the one who brought them to freedom in the first place and who's been showing them the way ever since, to have Moses be the one to offer that blessing might have actually been even more powerful to them than had the blessing come from God in that moment, from God's self. Although we also know that God couldn't quite talk to all of them, but somehow God was able to talk to Moses. It's very mysterious how all of this happened. Well, we still don't quite know the content of this blessing that Moses shared. The Sfat Emet reminds us that in the creation of the world, God saw that God's creation was good, and then God blessed, just as we read. And in the creation of the Mishkan, Moses saw that the creation of the Israelites was good, and so Moses blessed. In both cases, there was a really big project that was completed, and the project was somehow declared good. And then the blessing followed. Too often in our world, we run from one place to another. We run from one project, one task, one chore, one activity to the rest. And we're so overloaded with all of the assignments and details and tasks at hand that as soon as we check one off our list, we find ourselves already on to the next. The fact that Moses and God took time after these really big projects to pause, to appreciate the work that was accomplished, and to bless after the completion of their respective projects, should also serve as a reminder for us to do the same in our lives. So Zevi, you're kind of, in a place like this right now. Tomorrow afternoon, as your service draws to a close, you too can either choose to, toss your prayer folder into a drawer, move on to whatever is next in your life, whatever new challenge that you might have, or you can learn from Moses and from God to take a moment to pause and to bless. You can take a moment to appreciate all those who are coming out this weekend to celebrate with you. You can take a moment to appreciate all the hard work that your parents and that your family and your friends have put in to support you and to execute all the details of your celebration. It already looks so beautiful in here. You can take a moment to appreciate all the work that Cantor Benjamin and your teachers have put in to help you reach this moment. And most of all, you can appreciate all that you have accomplished. What we can learn from these moments of blessing is not necessarily the content of the blessing, because we don't know what was in there. But rather, we can learn the fact that there was a moment of blessing. And that part of what we are blessing and appreciating is the process and the contribution of each person, all the hard work that helps all of us in whatever moment we are in to arrive at that moment. And we should remember that we're not aiming for perfection. After all, even when God was the one creating most of the days of creation, we know at the end that God said, it was good. Good job, God. Good job, me. Pat yourself on the back. The text doesn't say that God said that it was great. God doesn't say this is perfect. God said this is good, except for the sixth day. The sixth day was very good. But even then, room for improvement. Maybe each day was good so that the next day we would continue to try harder. We would continue to try to reach for newer or for more sophisticated, more challenging goals. Or maybe each day was good so that we can also look back with humility, knowing that there are always ways in which we can improve ourselves. Either way, Zevi, I hope for you and for all of us that you will find a quiet moment this weekend to look back on all that you will have accomplished and to God willing, deem it to be good, because I know we will. And may you and all of us be able to find blessing as we discern the next step on our journeys, since every ending is a beginning, and we never know what's coming next. But we can pause, we can appreciate where we have been, we can bless all that was good and all that was challenging, and we can get ready for whatever it is that's coming next. Shabbat Shalom. All right. So we're going to dive back into our service as we near the end, and we'll turn to page 55, and I invite Zevi to come on back up as he leads us in Kiddush. And please rise if you're comfortable and able to do so.
Okay, this is grape juice.
Yes.
Good.
Of course it's grape juice. What else would it be?
Do I drink this at the end?
Yes.
Okay.
Drink it at the end. I'm sorry we didn't practice this part ahead of time.
All of the props.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pari hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav viratz asher viratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher yetziat mitzrayim
Kivanu v'charta v'tanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodecha b'yadav ratzon v'chatan.
Baruch atah Adonai Mikahadesh HaShabbat.
We remain standing as we turn to page 56 for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon ha'kol l'ateit gedula liyotzei bereshit shelo asanu k'dayei haratzon velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama shelo samchalkeinu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol bonam v'achanu korim u'mishtachavim u'bodim לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שם כתוב בתורתך לא ימלוך לעם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו 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 אחד.
Sit back down, Zeb. So we turn to page, let's see, 58 for Mourner's Kaddish. And if you are in mourning or are observing a yard site, I invite you to remain standing. Otherwise, you are welcome to find a seat. And we continue to extend condolences. I send condolences to my family on the passing of my grandmother, and we continue to remember her and her life. In this particular Shabbat, as Zevi's family is gathered together to celebrate with him, we also remember your Mom Hillary Madison, Lee and Sally Madison, Milton and June Levine, Leonard and Mitzi Moonblatt, Sam and Tilly Allenoff, and Danny Allenoff. And we know how proud they'd be of all that you've already done and all that you will be doing with us this weekend. If there are other names of anyone for whom you're remembering this weekend, if you'd like to share them with our community, I invite you to do so. And of course, we remember and our hearts go out to all those who've lost their lives recently in the Ukraine. Kaddish Yatom is on page 58. Yitz Kadal, Yitz Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, Bialma Divra Kirute, Bialmich Malchute, V'chayechon Uv'yomechon, Uv'chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael, V'agala Uv'izman Kariv V'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach Leolam Olomei Omaya. Yit Barach V'yit Tabach V'yit Pa'ar V'yit Romam V'yit Naseh V'yit Hadar V'yit Ale V'yit Halal Shemei Dekudesha Brichu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechamata Da'amiran V'yalma V'imru Amen. Yehi Shlomo Rabba Min Shemaya V'chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom V'imromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. May the one who creates peace on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who dwell on earth. And we say together, Amen.
Amen.
So, Zevi, got a little warmed up, hopefully. Know what it's like to stand on the bima with us. Hopefully it's not so scary. Mazel tov to you and to your entire family. We look forward to being with you again tomorrow morning. Our service will begin at 9:30. And both it will be in person and on live stream for those who wish to join us. And we also have at BCVJ a program coming up this Sunday at 10:30 with Mindy Drosner, who will be leading an elder doula program, which I have been looking forward to for a very long time. And I think her work is so important and just beautiful. So I look forward to being able to learn with her. And so if you are interested or know anyone else who might be, feel free to pass that along and share that. And our Purim celebration is Wednesday, March 16th at 6:30. And we are really excited to be back in person. It is nice in general to be back in person. And God willing, there is lots more of that to come in the future. Anything you want to share?
Speaking of how wonderful it is to be in person and to be together in person, I think that's the perfect segue into our final song.
Go for it.
If you want to reach your arms out around the people close to you, if you feel comfortable doing so, we join together in our final song, Hine Matov. How good it is to be together.
Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbos.
Thank you.